Good morning.
Sanje,
Chonamba, Jangshu Bali, Dagi Katsuchi, Dagi Chujenji, Sonaki, Drola Panche Sangi, Druhasho.
Sanje,
Chonan Sonji, Chonamba, Jangshu Bali, Dagi Katsuchi,
Dagi
Dagi Chujenji, Sonaki, Drola Panche Sangi, Druhasho.
Sanje,
Chonan Sonji, Chonamba, Jangshu Bali, Dagi Katsuchi, Dagi Chujenji, Sonaki, Drola Panche Sangi, Druhasho.
Dayata,
Gati Paragati Parasamagati Bodhiso.
Dayata,
Gati Paragati Parasamagati Bodhiso.
Dayata,
Gati Paragati Parasamagati Bodhiso.
Simja Tamjego, Tojalana Macheva, Sanje Kumar, Chile, Tovacha. The age of the Janjus and the Love and the Future of the Law, a single, symbol of two or two Jeshua, no Chipotle, and Gossip over the Chamberlain Mazunga, Chimba, Lam Rim Subject, Jesha Chimba, sometimes.
So we set our motivation to do whatever we possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment by perfecting all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. And to perfect those trainings, we need to be able to rely on a non-mistaken presentation, to gain learning from that and understanding from that in order to perfect those trainings. And so we are here this morning to listen to a brief explanation on the outlines of the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment as composed by the great Lam Rim. Drang gyatang strukture chuk niba de chingo geva gu mosum.
Ta kanja kasen tadati kasa. 다 신내 주당 거들다 다다 가서다 지 가서다 예방하고 주식에 대표고나다 예방가 로다 예방가다 렐로체 담아체 와체 로 담아체 와체 담아체 와체 지와체 뭐 받두체 뭐 받두미체 와체 예방가티체 다티 예방가 디다 예보스를 가서라들라 다 렐로 예보라 시체 대가체, 두바체, 아니 가서 조와체, 신장체, 시체. 아니 로다가체 어찌체, 아니 당와체 같으다 제마체. 아니 저와체, 다가체 저. 지와텔다 제마체, 시시. 시시체. 다 지고 중화체, 다 지고 중화체 두체 봐. 뭐 중화체. 다가체, 다 두미체 봐체나. 뭐다가체 지 두미치 받치는 거다 같이 지금 뭐 좋았어 두미치 받치는 거 거다 진짜 딱 같이 주식에 때문에 거나다 우선에 좀 다시 숨어봐 어떻게
So in the pursuit of meditative serenity, one must deal with what are known as the 5 faults by applying the 8 antidotes. The 5 faults being laziness, the forgetting of the instruction or the object of your focus, then the faults of mental laxity and excitement, the fault of the kind of non-application of the of antidotes, and then the fault of the intention of applying antidotes where it's not necessary. So the 8 antidotes that correspond to those 5 faults, and the first 4 of these antidotes are needed in order to counteract the first fault of laziness, and these are a sense of faith or confidence in the whole process, a yearning, effort and pliancy. And then the fifth of the antidotes is to counteract the forgetting of the objective or the object, forgetting of the instruction, and that of course is mindfulness. And then the sixth of the antidotes to deal with mental laxity and mental excitement is the antidote of the vigilance. And then the last two of the faults of the non-application of the necessary means or antidotes, and then the intention to apply antidotes where it's not necessary are counteracted by the antidote of applying antidotes where necessary, and where not necessary, abiding in equanimity of mind. So that these are the very enumeration of such faults and such antidotes. It really speaks to having a very present knowledge of the workings of one's mind, how my consciousness operates, in the same way as we would for dealing with mental affliction, that becomes essential to first of all recognize that the mental affliction has arisen, is present, is pervading my mind. Then you can actually do something about it. So it's really, really important to be able to accept that for everything that occurs in the mind, the workings of the mind, that there are causes for that. And so it's not enough just to kind of recognize that, but to actually become, to know that, but to recognize these causes when they're about. So for example, like the mental afflictions, yes, that a mental affliction so-and-so is about to take over or to become present in the mind. And likewise, even more essentially, when we are dealing with mental and meditative serenity, that we understand the presence or otherwise of mental laxity, mental excitement, and to understand, is that what is occurring in the mind, to what extent, etc. What do I do about it then? So it shows that there are very subtle and very particular causes to bring about whatever is occurring in the mind.
sem matawe de kabla ana sabsa macha na di khondri madewa dige en khondro go top gechen ana khondro shama to tote gedes ta di kabdo ne sem da mate jo go o ta di khondro gyure ta khondro yong go ta re shas ana ko je rangi khondro di ana ji kaso de 모양에 탑실에 배출 찍고 요러. 또 뭐지 맞아 쌤 맞아 시시도 안던데 근데 딜러로 받지잖아. 아니 소소 경제 망부 삼로 당잖아. 아니 콘도 사주고 요러. 먼저 콘도 사주고 두고. 콘도 숙체도 당시고 요러. 쌤 맞아 시시 디간들 아니 와다 콘도 연구도 쓰나 아니 제바데 시신의 주진 그 숙초도 당에 탑시지고 요 말이야. 먼저 딜러 경제 망부 삼로 당는 콘도 숙체도 당해. 지금 가서 뭐좀 갑자기 다다 자투고 뭐 도와. 저 가서 저기 쌤이 남샤 도다도 뭐저 야구 신경배가 따와. 난 될 때는 아니 제 내가 다 타도 뭐 이게 봐주 쏘는 것도 와.
And so, like in terms of this proficiency with which we deal with the workings of the mind can be often clearly demonstrated in the case of anger. So we all understand that anger is negative. It's everybody regards anger as somewhat negative. Yet it is something which is very prevalent in our day-to-day consciousness. And so it's so important to understand how negative arises in the mind. What are the underlying causes for anger in the mind? And that's like part one. Part two is then what do you do about it when you actually recognize it? And so it's kind of like, it's so important to have a strategy, not just of recognition, but of then what is applied afterwards in order to control the prevalence of anger in the mind. And so we're angry. We've been in a situation where negative words have been exchanged, and so then as it speaks about in the kind of like in Bodhisattva's way of life, Master Shantideva, he says, there are precursors to give you a sign that anger is about to arise in the mind and take over. It's not something that arises automatically. There are causes, underlying signs, precursors that give rise. And the most main one is that you start to feel a sense of uneasiness in the mind. It's kind of like, can be quite subtle, but that's something that needs to be recognized, that you kind of have this idea, oh, I'm starting to feel some sense of discomfort mentally. This is a warning sign. I need to recognize that if I don't deal with this now, then anger is going to come in, and it's going to be more difficult to control. I must actually do something about it at that stage, at that early uneasiness stage. And so, unfortunately, our habit is so strong, is that even though we might get good at recognizing that, oh, I'm feeling a little bit, uneasy, discomfort, that must be anger. Instead of applying antidotes to it, instead of applying reasonings that oppose that anger, that oncoming anger, we often do the opposite. We actually start justifying our anger and giving ourselves reasons to be angry, self-justification. And so, that's something that's quite very obviously destructive to both our temporary and our ultimate goals. And so it's kind of really important that rather than that we have a correct strategy of recognizing the early signs of anger in our discomfort, uneasiness in the mind, and applying the proper mindfulness, the proper vigilance to bring about the proper antidote to control what's happening.
그래서다 자라체네 녀모 여바디 슉쳐다 슉충하데 매바 소답데 제거도 다 대바데 시지 그 뒤네 또 모트베토는 대바데 시지 그 뒤네 된거 샤데도
So therefore something qualities of mental factors like mindfulness and vigilance are not sort of these discrete subjects upon which we should meditate independently or separately. They are qualities of mind that we need to have at our disposal at all times because of the prevalence of mental affliction in our lives. That these can have and do have a powerful influence over our mind. That there are so many conditions out there that can prompt, that can give rise to mental affliction, that we are in, after all, cyclic existence, the nature of suffering itself, that we are controlled by our karma and mental affliction to a great extent. So all these forces are arrayed against us in terms of keeping peace of mind. And so we need a constant vigilance and a constant mindfulness in order to be able to deal with these inconducive conditions, and either to reduce the influence of those particular or all mental affliction in the mind, or to set about eradicating them. And so therefore mindfulness and vigilance, it should be qualities that really are ubiquitous in our consciousness.
다들 중국에서 맞죠. 다 니와 중국 계획 중국에서 중국 계획 중국에서 아니었어. 사이 무실래. 다 지회 참아 가셔서 또 오벽고 맞송아. 그래서 세게 최 맞심바. 남게 차되다. 매게 가서 남게서 차되다. 남게 참매라 미녀와 조알라 미좀 받아. 아니 시신 많이 받네봐. 데모 줘봐. 그래서 니치와 가서 탑 미셰바다 레루다 때문에 두바다 준주다 셈다 줘바다 셴네라 공바다 셴네 용수 장와 마제베 셴네게 초지 일라 제바다 셈 바다보 두바다 미발라 되바 미가 오체.
So we had stopped last week at the subheading called the underlying causes of laxity and excitement. It's on page 375 of the outlines of the text. So the underlying causes of the laxity and excitement come from the text known as The Levels of Yogic Deeds by Arya Asanga. And so the question is, what are the signs of mental laxity, first of all? So the signs of mental laxity are not restraining the doors of the senses, not having moderation in terms of what you eat and drink, not making any effort to practice in the earlier or later parts of the night, an ongoing lack of vigilance, deluded behavior, oversleeping, unskillful application, and laziness, which in terms of laziness in regards to one's aspirations, in regards to the joyous effort, one's intention and one's analysis. And then the kind of like a lack of application or dedication to meditating on mental serenity and the or refining one's mental serenity by having kind of a partial attention, giving partial attention to it. So not really fully committed. And then a further signs of mental laxity are a kind of like a darkness or lethargy in the mind, and not delighting in focusing on the object.
Nedo la asa, nedo la toba la so, goba da tumbe, che kanyang runga, sen number yema ho. She so the jinwa da gobe tsemane teta ki ju ho che.
And then the same question with regard to mental excitement. What are the signs of mental excitement? And so these begin again with those that are very similar to mental laxity with regard to the non-restraining of the doors of the senses, etc. So the first kind of 4 of those are similar to mental laxity. Then there's also behavior, which is dominated by desire or attachment, having a disquieted manner, you're not settled, a lack of disenchantment, unskillful application, and similarly to before too, this fault in one's aspiration. In this case, there's a great grasping in one's aspiration. Again, not familiarizing with effort, making the right effort, so that the mind remains in an unbalanced way, not refining it, and without any refined apprehension. And then there's the kind of like mind which is continuously pursuing any sort of exciting topic, such as reflecting on one's relatives and other distractions. And so these are the signs of mental laxity and mental excitement, the underlying causes of. And so in both cases here, the first is this inability or lack of restraint of the doors of the senses. And these are kind of what we see with our eyes, what we hear with our ears, etc., etc. And that this becomes really quite obvious in terms of first step in any serious attempt to avoid distraction in general. And so here, this can refer to our hearing or wanting to hear certain songs or music or movies, etc. Anything that will lead to a scattering of our internal focus. Obviously, if you're absorbed in any sort of external object like that, you're not concentrating on an inner object like you should be when you're trying to establish meditative serenity. And so you can see how this is a big one. This is like a major underlying cause to prevent us from developing control of the mind in meditative concentration, because of the fact of people like feed the senses deliberately to avoid or to distract themselves deliberately, whether it's having the headphones in the ears so that they're hearing music or whatever as they walk along, or having to watch movies for fear of in order to stave off a sense of loneliness in their lives, and that distraction seems to be the rule of life. And so when you actually set about doing anything really, whether it's achieving any kind of mundane objective or study, for example, of course you need to gain some sense of focus and concentration, don't you? So you have to work at restraining the objects of the senses. You really have to work at that. So it goes without saying that if you're actually wanting to do something as precise as developing one's internal meditative concentration with the objective of establishing meditative serenity, and then it goes without saying one must really restrain completely the objects of the doorways of the senses in order to prevent us being absorbed into external objects.
And come jobs the ongo ticket that you want to dangone be chaza be pita was that you want to come to and the because of because of that so that you wrote a jala so what is shama the matter way. This shama the matter type shit get you chagua. This shama the daughter by na and semi network to get you to.
So this becomes extremely important at the outset when we start off, and it can be something quite difficult for us, but we need to do our very best to initially really establish that what we're engaged in here is an internal focus, and therefore it must not may fall under the control of any external distraction caused by not restraining the senses, so that I want to be very wary of not getting drawn to anything I hear or see or taste or touch or smell, but that the focus concentration is internal, and that's very, very important. And so this is of course not easy at all, because we are residents of the desire realm. Therefore it's these objects of desire that are very distractive to us.
And then that's a good trick, and red does do you know class such a Jazonane, and Subun of two channel, Lerine Jetumotua, Takajo, Chiletan, Yamachika Tijanko, Chikala, Chikuribusaya, Churibusaya, and how don't you come down to the Jedan, Chikonjet out to the Jetuina? Conches Konakala Massa Chechorwa, what did it so we come to Dejan. In a Takala Shuk was so much young, to what thought about the money much in a coach, and Kalati, so super career ring to Remarin take it, what in the chap.
And so therefore we must do our best, nevertheless, to really regard in this context that external distractions caused by the senses are kind of in terms of developing meditative serenity, a kind of afflictions, and we must see them as such in order to avoid them. And so the second of those that are mentioned here is the kind of like a lack of moderation in one's eating, in one's diet, really. So here, this again is quite self-apparent that we, in the context of developing meditative serenity, one must really take stock of what one is eating and drinking, and not just that if we overeat then you're going to feel dozy, sleepy, and that's certainly not going to aid your next meditative session, but also that you are eating well so that you're not hungry, and more particularly eating what you know to be suitable for your body. So you have a set and limited diet that will harmonize with what you're trying to do.
对的面了明年我那觉得正把它跟这个说的，他跟这个他这个差对，他跟这马年个光了，俺这个马年个光了，俺这个那觉得专业，那觉得俺小个也大本那个出去别的，他跟这他是两个人小个中了他倒是俺是两头呢。因为他你来用嘛，他妈钱，要你来用手上呢，我就说过的，你是家外的你的吧，你得用上嘛，当然小个跟他出去，别的是，我把说是两个月吧，伊呢，我在他这个，可是的他那个吃，他知道吃对是的，我那是他出去苏巴西巴的那些过的，但伊呢他没，个对了，大概这看着他这个出去，他小个这俺刚土都俺是哪样，俺就广大人的满年光是的嘞，俺这个。냠랭 그 초티 돈에 아니 니쿠이 아니 쇼가 야라는 냠랭 그 초티를 받자리 니만인가 아니 냠랭 야고 용한다 뭐지 쇼가들 걸 가서 라레티 그래 아니 쇼가들 야고 중화도 다 본다 많이 공스포도 되지 많이 공네 다 쇼가 말랑 보도 아니 지 니스근데 지나 뒤에 가서도 개와 말에 미야 말에 가서 루마디안 소리를 와다 그래도 이내고 야 계획이 아니 지금 지심에 소리 정말 인바이나 아니 이 개발을 줄여요래 좋아 개발을 줄여요 되게 개발 용거래라 어떤 데전다 난그 차도는 매일 미네와 내셔를 좀 봐서 수고도
So the next fault problem is making no effort to practice in the earlier or later parts of the night. And so here it's referring to like prior to your taking sleep, that you take care of that session just before then, and that then that's the earlier part of the night. And the later part of the night is actually what we would refer to as the early morning. So here it's referred to as like really trying to rise as early as you can. And bearing in mind that it's important to get good sleep, good rest as well, and so you have to kind of gauge that. In strict terms, according to the texts, the later part of the night is about 3 a.m. But if you can make it 5 a.m., that's fine as well. To try and rise early to gain that session in the kind of early. That later part of what's referred to as the night. And so, but essentially, of course, all this is how do you say, kind of predicated on really taking a full the full day, 24-hour day as your practice. And therefore, it's very important to incorporate sleep into your virtue as well. So, essentially, without any interference, sleep is a neutral activity. It's neither virtuous nor non-virtuous. But again, as an important part of that final session in the early part of the night, that you are able to continue, as it were, that session right into your sleep, so that there's no break between your practice and your sleep, to make that sleep virtuous. And then also when you awake, you're awaking into virtue immediately and starting that later part of the morning session. So to make it a 24-hour a day practice is very, very important, and to kind of commandeer your sleep to make it, transform it into a virtuous time.
가졌다 이내도 고두 이내에 조금 잡자다 요거 말대 이내 소속이 뒤 받을다 안디 검자에게 냠내제다 곧 대화요 봐서있지 버다 대화요 봐서있지.
And of course, bearing in mind that to try to establish 24 hours of meditation itself is quite difficult, and therefore that we have our specific sessions of dedicated focused meditation, but that all of the other times, the in-between session times and so on, are still regarded as Dharma practice for us, and that which is connected to our main objective of developing meditative serenity.
나도 쇼게데 베게 좀 있어요. 쇼게데 아니 고노 야고 줘야다. 아니 쇼게데 답변은 차파자고다 된데 쇼게 말로 어떻게 좀 있어요. 뒤쪽에 지 쇼게게 뒤가서 삼로데 베 가서 프레시 야고 줘봐. 아니 거기 지 레그 니바샤들 또 니바차 연구였어요. 아니 데레서 쇼게 강투도 개발을 규탑다. 답변은 공장에서도 시험을 인데면 남준도네 아니 쇼게 지 차파자고다 되게 시야 제목 뭐 제천 릭 지금 다 지게를 검시를 지금 커피를 또 잡아다이로 검시도 와 그러다 보는 것은 지금 문에 전에 그 지금 나베냐면 야부 지금 집안에 당근을 소소 똑같이 답 지금 뭐이나 바자 야부 샤다 지금나 되게 쇼가 로마고 같이 근데 못 잡다 다 거는 이거 다고 있네 근데 줄로 가러 와 쇼가 같이 버데 세고 싶지도 강도도 최가 바자 숙제 보셔야
And so to also be aware of the morning period as being very, very important, of more importance really. And so therefore it is a time when one should take care to set a powerful motivation and to understand that the kind of karmic imprints that are laid down in the morning are more powerful because of the clarity that you have to your mind in the morning. And therefore, to put it to use for virtue is extremely important, and that it goes without saying that one should take advantage of that when one is developing meditative concentration. But also, in general, one should recognize that to care for what you're doing early in the morning, and not to be reading newspapers or something like that, which is quite a tradition over the morning coffee. So to avoid leave the newspaper till lunchtime and just really keep your mind on virtue in the morning, because that's when you lay down more powerful imprints. And also, reading newspapers won't give you usually good news.
좀바다谢谢 많이 받네 봐 저보다 좀바다 谢谢 많이 받네 봐 저보다 진짜 다 데모 줘봤다 아니 니 쳐봤다 아니 그래서 탑미시 봐 좋았다 같이 지금 뭐가 탑미시 봤다 아니 레로다 때문에 좀 봤다 레로다 때문에 좀 봤다 레로다 때문에 좀 봤다 같이 지금 다 거기 두어내서 자왕내식을 내로 연구를 왔다 같이 지금 뒤다 같이 내로 순간 연구를 다 못했지 아니 준주다 쌤도 줘봤다现在로 공부하다现在 용수 정보 많이现在그 초지기를 줘봤다 쌤좀 다 같이 왔는데 저 간제 저 가서도 데모게 가서도 다다 데모스로 가서 다다데 다들 지와를 도와 다들 지와를 도와 다 지외 카도게 와다 되게 교연대다 탐제다 해왔지 되게 교연 용에 임해서 주디 카토도 고답지에 고베 카도게다 고바데 지금 샘 초예라시 임해서 한 초예라시 그냥 그 투문고 교연제 용거래라 투문고 지와도 고바니가 투문고 교연제 용거래라 야 코랑 투문 많이 배야 샘 초져서 아니 지금 라게 지가서데 지가서라다 쌤 예외 쇼기 되게 다 쌤 초초사기 와다 되게 되게 양고 지용고도 안 되게 탐자래야 저 꼭다 근데서 찍고도 말로 탑식 근데서 찍고도 아 되게 삼다해 지래도 와 어떻게 지래셔
So then when you have these all the other underlying causes for mental laxity, and particularly like when you talk about the laziness that infects one's aspirations, effort, intention, analysis, and so on, and that can be related to the laziness that is characterized by an engagement in negative activities, and so that in general that you are on the lookout for anything that has the quality of laxity to it, that might lead to any sense of sinking of the mind, mental laxity. And likewise, when we talk about mental excitement, we have not just the underlying causes that are in common with mental laxity, but also those that are specifically have a quality of in any way scattering one's attention. So that's the quality of mental excitement that pulls you away from the object of focus on your object. So to again think about them, to recognize them, to have strategies in place to be able to put a stop to them, and to prevent them from arising. All this is the stuff of your cogitation, really, about refining and improving your meditative concentration.
다 간제 간제 된데게 지와당 고바 중원도 아니 지금 셈 가서도 다 지금 가서도 펑 가서도 지와 중원도 아니 셈펑 야 토다 다에 고바 중원도 셈펑 마다 다에 와다 되게 다 가서 슈바나 신체 되게 된다 가자 셈 내바 잡아 많이 맞아 셈 가다 대바치 내투에 와다 셈 내바 잡아 이거 셈 아니 지금 가서 나다 대바 칸투도 용해지 용해다 네트웨이를 배출 제고도 와다데 다데 데데가 마네베 갑들라네 디 모트베 토네 아니 지와 중앙 모트도 아니 가서 야셈 팡 토다다야 거바 중앙 모트도 셈 데데 도스 마팡 마다다야 와다데게 디가 아니 탑케비 토네 모트베 제고고레 수고서 모드죠.
So therefore we need to be very, very aware of both the mental laxity and mental excitement, and to have this recognition of the kind of overriding characteristic of the one which is the excitement which sort of rises the mind to kind of, it sort of like adds energy to the mind when it's not necessary, and the other which is like a sinking, sort of like slipping into a kind of dullness, and to recognize anything that give rise to that, and to put things in place in order to prevent and to then oppose if they do arise. So it's as we spoke about last week when talking about what was the quality of that particular attention, focusing on the object. It's not enough just to have a placement of the mind on the object, but it has to have this quality of an intensity, clarity to it as well. So that's really what we need to make effort on, that it has the kind of correct tautness, really, of being able to focus on the mind, and to be able to again become absolutely expert at recognizing the presence of any mental laxity, any mental excitement, and to do something about it.
다 니바 증거다 제외도서 제다 자원은 증거 처모야 제대다 증거 처모야 제도 권배 양나 지와 양나 고바 주와 민년벌 매벌자 다 셈년번이도 주에체 아니 두제바 다 그냥 니부 두제바이나 주제벌 좀바이나 아니 땡땡에서 교체로 여러 교인이베 대인이 뭐는 단우 공고에서 단우서다 ramja도 샤나 제가 가서데 방도도 마다 와치는 여버들 ram자 내버져 단우 공부하고 좀.
So then the next outline, which is referred to as 2 there, what to do when laxity and excitement are absent. And so here it's talking about when even you have eliminated even subtle laxity and excitement and are meditating, and then you have a state of mental equipoise which is characterized by being free of the imbalances that are caused by mental laxity and excitement. And so at that point it would be a fault to apply or exert any sort of other influence on one's meditative concentration, because it's not necessary that you have the balance of equipoise that is necessary. And so therefore it should be leave it as is, and that's referred to as the antidote of equanimity, of just leaving things as they are.
원하다 무엇이라 소베 또 탐자 두바치베다 무엇이라 소베 다 지금 Rota Mushila Sobeta, Kachechi, Don Tamche, Tuba Chebeta, Tuba Chicken, Tinget, Jida Chebe Kitchen attack, and this in the Kigrias Lavana, that thing at Cumete, and Nevangapo, Tushe, Takata Kerwa, Debe Kula, Kulani Kiakuris, then Nevanganeta, the Shutre, Joyetsana, Lelu Nevayenza, Tinget and Mishuicher, Lelu, Tinget Jolly, Gunchigula, Mishuichers. Tingetela Zubetsana, and Tamachevina, and Yavachagiro, Mibachevina, send me for a Navashava Nevichiro. Navashavala Chingo need there, Denig, Sim, Lesua, Nevachevichiro.
So, then it says that here, if one wants to generate a kind of a meditative concentration that will lead to the establishment of all our goals, such as all the super knowledges, clairvoyance, etc. How does one go about that? What are the causes that can give rise to that? And here again is explained, as was referred to at the beginning, of eliminating 5 faults of meditative concentration by applying 8 antidotes. And here the 5 faults are explained as at the time of preparation, the fault is laziness, because laziness is going to prevent us from really establishing any meditative concentration. We won't train in meditative concentration with laziness. Then, when we are actually making effort at meditative concentration, the fault is that of losing the object or forgetting the object. And again here it's saying, if you are constantly forgetting the object, then you're never going to achieve any mental equipoise, meditative equipoise or balance of mind. And with regard to the third of the faults, is at the time of actual meditative abiding in a kind of meditative balance where you are focused, and then the faults are the 2 of mental laxity and excitement. And so because these render the mind unserviceable.
Samba, Tujawa Samba, Neva Yinja. That Jingo Chico Chena, Nayin, that Jingo Chico Tawa in the Chiwa Kova Chichana, Nayin, Soso Chena, and never true. That never Nasinata, never true Sanata, that Chipayamura, to the young Rim now so so.
And so then, at the time when when mental laxity and excitement are present, the fault is that of non-application. In other words, you're not doing anything about it when they are there. And so the objective there is that you're not doing anything to prevent or to pacify or quell the laxity and the excitement. And then when laxity and excitement are absent, then the fault is of having an intention of application. So you're doing something where it's not necessary to do anything. Now, according to Kamalashila's 3 stages of meditation, these faults are enumerated as 5 when laxity and excitement are taken together as one. But if you want to separate laxity and excitement into 2 faults, then of course it amounts to 6 faults.
Shite, that the Demata, Dubata, Zoata, Shinchans, Shiche, Gene, Jingeda, Jingueta, Dumicevata, Ducheve, Neva, Nebu, Nesa, Ribata, Jambata, Jingueta, Jingu, Tobe, Shishita, Ducheve, Sabata, Casa, Ducheve, Sabata, Netuchove, Danum Sauce, what is Shoto, what is it?
And then the as was mentioned, that the 8 applications are the antidotes to cause those faults to be abandoned or to deal with them, and that the first 4 of these antidotes deal with laziness, And they are, as was said, this confidence in the instruction, in the whole purpose, yearning, powerful yearning, effort and pliancy. And then respectively, the forgetting of the instruction, laxity and excitement, the non-application, and then the intention of application. Those faults are covered or opposed by, in turn, mindfulness, the vigilance, which always is looking out for the rising of mental laxity and excitement, the application of what's necessary, the antidote, and then the intention or the avoiding of any intention of application by a calmly established equanimity.
다 니바 델라 데나서 셈네 기베 림발로 숨자 다 셈네 기베 림발로 셈네 기베 림바 뭐데 톱투기 툭투 델라 이제 델라서 일에 제바 시유베 출로자.
Then the next main heading, the stages in which the mental states develop. There you can see number 73, and it has itself 3 subheadings. A, the actual stages in which the mental states develop. B, the process of achieving them with the 6 forces. And C, how the 4 intentions are involved in this.
다고 셈네 기베 림바 뭐데라 다 셈굴레서 다 대단 델라 셈 초반에서 치료지 미바 탐제래 셈 양다고 뒤에 나도 미바를 떼받지 못서 그렇다 치료지 미바 탐제래 셈 양다고 뒤에다 디셔와도 마다가지 않도 뒤에 나도 미바를 떼받지 못 균도 초반에 당부 때문에 셈되니 현도 미연과 미바텔라 균도 줘봐. 어떻게 좀바도 좀 구속 송도 어떻게.
And so then, with regard to the stages in which the mental states develop, there are 9, and they are progressively then more efficient at maintaining one's focus on the chosen object. The first of these is just referred to as mental placement. And here you have managed to really control correctly the mind from being distracted really from any external objects or any and all external objects, and have directed it to an inner object, an inner focus. And so,
그래서 다 간제 저기 나라도 변은 다 남주 미배체를 제라 요래 아니 나라도 대명원 그 삼로 먹고 거기도 가사 제서저 삼로 먹고 마음과 뒤제 되게 건가 시험도 마다 왔지 되게 시험도 마다 다 되게 시험도 당소나 아니 고kom디 야고 요고 바로 와 되게 치치도 되게 시험도 마다 아니 뒤나네 다다 카도 나라도 저 지금 가서도 다다 다 미나 제라 소베다 같이 저 공부 되게 시험하라 마다마치 되게 시험하라 마다가 전에 딱 같이 저 가서도 너무 산재게 연대르지 삼로 땅땅땅땅 아니 다 산재게 구이연데 수구연도 되게 셈나도 나로도 레 아니 되는 산재게 연대 되게 삼로 땅에 아니 산재구 딱 같이 저 산재구라 미베다 같이 저 컴레스자기나 안 되게 산재 구티 로라야 차와제 아니 로라 구 차와다가랑 가라 로라 차와다가랑 가라 아니 섬상에 샤샤 디면도 섬로 가야 마다체 디가다 섬상에 샤 야 영조도나 야 산재 연대 섬로 당제 산재 연대 섬로 당제다 제 아니 즉 벌써다 내부를 수여제 되다 즉 셈틴이 셈틴다 좀 세상로다 셈틴 아니 대야 셈 산재 군나와 다가가는 가라 섬상에 샤 어다가지 마이레 향도 야 투두다 제잖아 야 이제 샤이쪽으로 딱 셈에 당도 갈다 되들 제죠다 쇼도를 다가지 뭐 숙청부 요사 남주디 검시데 내가 인사 근데 딱 가이나면 가와 도도 인데 대대는 검초로 딱 배주했지 당도 갈라 배좀 숙체스 제잖아 배수 숙체에서 제작과 수外向者的 야수도 답체 야향者的 수도 답체 고도
So yes, that here the initial stage of mental placement. Here it's sort of following on to that intention. Say I'm going to try to develop meditative serenity, and so you've taken that initial step. So here it's about dealing with the most coarse and obvious distractions that are going to prey on your intention initially, and that means all the kind of stuff that goes on in your mind anyway when you're trying to focus on anything, stuff from the past, stuff into the future, what I'm going to do today, and not to mention all of the distractions that come from the senses. And so here it's the job of constantly bringing the attention just back to focus on what you are focused on. So if you've chosen, for example, the body of the Buddha as your object of focus, then it's very good to do some reflecting on the qualities of an enlightened being, to consider the qualities of the Buddha's body, the Buddha's speech, the Buddha's mind, skillful means, etc. To inform oneself, and then to bring one's mind to focus on that, to bring that image to arise in one's mind, and simply then to rest on that attention, rest your attention just on that image in one's mind. And so you will have the feature of being able to get that far and then losing it again. You're distracted externally, like the past, future, or whatever, but it's again the job of recognizing that and again bringing the mind back to what you really have chosen to focus on again and again and again and again. And that it needs a certain level of strictness of intention, and it needs effort. It's not just a question of that it will happen for you, but just by sitting there in the right position. No, that's not going to happen. That's not meditation. That you need this determination that is combined with effort and a strict attitude at the outset, in order to again constantly bring the mind back to where you want to focus on. Constantly bring it, of losing it, bringing it back, losing it, bringing it back, and so on.
다 남도 담아 같은데 걔도 내가 검도 고마서 거는 아니 롱 답변아 지금서 나고 얘네 막 그러니까 나랑 지금 남도 담아 같게 되니까 마치 된치수 삼삼차 아니 되네 야티어도 아니 지금 롱대로 받 롱대비 야티잖아 아니 지금 산제 구조도 연대 다저 초중수 삼삼차 랑게 안다 가서도 나한테 왜 참네 다까지 지금 검장을 받으주지 또 매번 차수 삼자 다까지 받지 매번 차수사 지금 랍수 삼자 어디지 아니 롱마 당도 다 롱인데 스마 되어서 롱코나 갈 셈샤 네 저서 야 된도 다 롱야 델레스 삼사자 롱데 야 나 저한테 삼사 롱종 간 코랑 갈 셈샤도 안 가라서 남주 내가 되는데 생 제가 다 삼로 뭐 보이게 되게 와삼 삼로도 예수 답게 소죠 거치 또 스마트 다 되게 마 제사도 아니 되네 아니 신내다 지금 산제 연대도 삼로다 산제 연대 삼로다 산제 연대 다음에 딱 이제 삼로다 전에 아니 산제 굴로라 차와지 로라 차왔다가랑 갈 로라 차왔다가랑 갈 삼랑 산 안데 제가 맞지 왔잖아 다가 갈 삼랑 산 야마 예저도 야 산제가 연대 삼다 야 로라 차다 다가랑 갈 삼데 샤다 이제 저도 안고 그 리메 컴퓨터 티에도 안고 또 당보다 규르고 대통 뭐 되는 규rinda 대충 그러고
So it said that if your mind, when you're sitting and intending to meditate in this way, is dominated by discursive thoughts, that one should simply stop and then concentrate on one's breathing. And so here, as Genna demonstrated, like inhaling through the left nostril, that you are, inhaling again the qualities of Buddha's body, speech, and mind. And then when you're exhaling any kind of obstacles, interferences that are getting in the way of your focused attention. And that you continue with that until then you just engage. So you can do that like 21 times and is necessary, and then follow that with just simply focusing the mind on the breathing itself, the inhaling and the exhaling, until you become settled enough to again recall the qualities of the Buddha as a precursor to again giving rise to the body of the Buddha as your chosen object in your mind, and then simply to rest one's focus just on that image of the Buddha's body in your mind. And again, to continue that process again and again of understanding that this is something that is going to be very gradual, that in the beginning you won't be able to sustain this for very long, but to go through that process again, maintain the discipline, and that you will see after some time that the periods in which you will have good focus will lengthen more and more.
지단에다 우들에 땅에다 아니 저 달지단 검자나면 뒤균들의 개체부 수준 보다. 그래서 믹스ing was been blood pressure 되게 요만이나 and sem마지 버터 강에 제 이번에 and 우마도 그리마다 어디가 막 되쳐서 소소내 나자다 동에다 가리네 마티버 가린데가 막 차서 막 되쳐서 삼사자 야텐데 아니 초조 상계다 자주 서바다 고수도 지라 탐자라 죽수 삼사자 된다 삼은 단 되주도 가서도 배나 탁시가 나자다고 되네 이번에 블러드 프레셔 다고 되네나 슈팽부터 쓰고 슈팽부터 다치다 우야마 대체도 그 탁시를 빼팽 거였어요. 근데 그 최대를 빼는 야부죠. 안데가 소소 추가 삼로다는 소소 냠래를 팽거와 냠래를 받아 냠래를 팽거와 와다 대체 뒤균도네 지금 개침이 있어요.
I think that one's actual breathing is something that is very important at any time, to pay attention to it, and it's said that it is very helpful for controlling blood pressure to begin with, and that to be able to use the tool of what we do all the time, inhaling and exhaling, to, for example, exhaling all of one's sickness, disturbance, what is unhappiness in our lives, in our minds, and that is gone through the air that is breathed out, and then the inhalation of the Buddhas, the holy beings, all their good, beautiful qualities of body, speech, and mind, which are invigorating you and nurturing you, and to really do that, and to kind of like to employ that in more when at any time when we find ourselves a little bit dominated and disturbed, and that as I said, it's something that can be very helpful for one's blood pressure, for regulating one's heartbeat, of course, and that all of this helpful for one's overall health. Needless to say, it is also very, very beneficial for our Dharma practice and for turning our mind to Dharma.
가시가 더 체크는 블러드 프레셔 돌려도 남자 이 살카시에 째네. 그러나 잘 답변에 십중갑 주자부터 있는 우야마 그리고 마당 이래서 안 체크도 시다마 자루스도 무슨 되고 자루스.
So they say that that when blood pressure is checked, and then one is advised to immediately engage in just this watching one's breathing in the inhale, some 40-50 breaths, and then afterwards the blood pressure is checked again. It normally goes down quite significantly. And so we all have issues with blood pressure when we get older, don't we?
어디 개발 요소래. 아니 다 뒤가도 수서 냠랭가를 잡아 있나네. 아니 수불에 배 냠랭에 배 지금 와.
And so, in terms of practice, then of course it's good. That which benefits the body will also benefit practice.
믹스에 가서 허브가 셈마기보다 강해 채원데. 셔바제 아니 셔바제는 갑도도 시작한 것보다 우마 땅에 우마 땅 강가 되체 삼사제 동가 강가 되체 안 산제가 지나 강가 주서도 아니 살카시나 셈도 양도 좀 좋아 셈도 양도 좀 된데 팽도 갑도들이 약수 좀 정도 아니 되네다 거저 삼십만보다 연구를 왔다.
So it's it's very good when we are in a way sometimes shocked with unhappiness, or we have some disturbance in our mind, and that and where there isn't any other immediate or more efficient solution. That it's very good just to rely on concentrating on the breathing in and out. That is something that we can exhale all of that unhappiness, all of what's disturbing and interfering with our peace of mind, and again inhale the benefits and the blessings that will benefit that. So it's something that definitely can be of help. And of course, then when we have some measure of calm or approach, then we can look for other means to overcome our particular circumstance.
garsawa tata sacha maumba saabo kiwe kewa teka semje patang an teta tamje pada kari tugu yuna teka de peme rundu tu chung samsacha wata tete chen ta tong le mi pati zu chen ta niwa shivu chimurwa.
And so that, of course, as a Mahayana practitioner, that breathing exercise can be the practice of taking and giving, the Tonglen practice. And so it's very, very good to be able to, take on in the in-breath all of the suffering of all sentient beings, all of that which is disturbing them, and to breathe it all in that inhalation, and to have it, really annihilating one's own self-cherishing attitude. And that then when we exhale, we're exhaling all of the virtues that we've accumulated in the past, present, and the future for others, in order to eradicate all the problems that they have, and that all of what they really desire will be accomplished effortlessly and spontaneously.
다 semje shenge dunga kaka tsulen ane rangi chenze dikala pungsha tu ane rangi dunga tata dil tete kekere mudwa suwa ta kaka tsulen chena ta rangi chenze kala pung ane rangi kasa te tunje da gewe da legba chakari yuna shiana pa tang pangpa meba pa tang cheo tu ane rangi chenze dila pe katasa meba so suyon kudwa ku niwa mega so suyon kudwa 안 됐어요. 아니 상 소소 미디어가 깨게 숙청도 좋대기도 와.
Yeah, so after all, that's when we are really focused on opposing our self-cherishing. It is, after all, the ultimate cause of anything that makes us unhappy, any sort of problem that we have, anything we find unbearable or undesirable in our lives. It's all down to our self-cherishing attitude anyway. So by engaging in a practice like this, where we are taking on all of the suffering, that which is again undesirable, unbearable from others, and inhaling it to really target our own self-cherishing, it can be a very, very effective practice, and to really to kind of like take it all on like this, and to again give all of our goodness, all of our virtue to others, to eradicate all their difficulties. It's psychologically very, very powerful to reduce the prevalence of self-cherishing in our own minds to render it for that moment powerless in dictating what our mental reality should be.
And that is simple. Simple. But none can check the way. None don't limit it. Then they get similar and Kuyabuson good one, Pusudo Mebuson good one. Social Nasa did not have social nation. Social Nasa the Lany Basan Chuari. That didn't I think Lany Basajo to make Karin come near Tolomesh, near Nasa de Quacho show. Some down to what not now in there. Now choice the Nashiva in a Shibu Chowa Young show, some down to the list touch on to and social Nasa. Shaka meeting such.
So, for example, specifically when we are sick or suffering from some kind of disease, that it's very good to engage in the taking and giving practice using the breath. That we, take on all of the negative karma that gives rise to suffering, and on the inhalation. And take that in to counteract our own self-cherishing attitude and to dedicate all of our own virtue to eradicate that same suffering in all others is something that really then serves to put our own sickness into the shade, as it were, and that we're not can't be that concerned about something as insignificant as our own illness, our own sickness. When we have the capacity to really take on the suffering of all others in the course of eradicating our own self-cherishing. If I die, that's okay. If I get worse, that's okay. We should have this all in mind, and to kind of again that sense of courageous acceptance again minimizes the negative impact of that illness. No problem for the mind. And it's because it's by really just owning really focusing solely on my illness and considering it to be the biggest thing, that creates the heavy suffering that normally accompanies such an occasion, such a situation. So that goes for whether it's an illness or any other suffering that we are enduring. And that we take the focus off of that in the course of the taking and giving practice, and take on all the suffering of all others in the course of eradicating our own self-cherishing. And it's something that really can bring some evenness to our mind, and openness and expansive attitude to the mind, so that we can easily accommodate our own problem or our own illness. And so, of course, in kind of like elaborating in this way, I know I'm going off the subject slightly, especially when talking about just meditation on the breath. But I want to be able to say that it's life is not just about meditation, but actually something that we can apply readily in any given situation in our life that will be of benefit. And so, because for however long we are alive, we have to breathe. So that therefore we can use that's something that is inevitable, that breathing, to counteract our own self-cherishing, to overcome our own suffering, to kind of make it meaningful for us by using the breathing to increase our own love, expand our own compassion.
다 미국 컨디션 미국 컨디션 샤유나 베라 산제 구다 왔다 데칼라 아니 셈 셔바 마토와 제 셈티 셈라 아니 구디 차와 제 구디 차와 구디 나와 다가 랑칼라 아니 셈 샤제 아 구디 치중 된데도 되게 디제는 셈 초초 나와 다가 랑면서 삼로 셔바 가야 마자와 제티 그래도 왔다 디야 아니 나다 대바 로 네바 잠마제 로데 나다 대바치 어디래치 나다 대바치 어디래치 갈다 셈 된데치가 네답제 아니 네네 셈 도스 초초고도는 양조 셈디가 네답제 양 초초고도는 양这个셈 네답고 삼루스탄에 양디가 셈 네답제 어디래치 다 인데 저 초초해도
So therefore, that whatever the object chosen for our development of meditative concentration, that we should really concentrate on maintaining focus, proper attention on just that chosen object. So if it's the image of the Buddha, then that mere the appearance of that image in our mental consciousness, that is the object on which we focus. So, and once we have that in our minds, we don't enter into any mental proliferation about it, such as questioning the size of that image. That is automatically scattering of attention. So what you're after here is that you are focused on just that image that has arisen in your mental consciousness and nothing else about it, no characteristics about it, just that. And so what you're after is that clarity initially, and then you bring an intensity to that focus so that it stays in a fixed way on that object. And so this, in the initial stages, that's not going to last long, that you will have this kind of scattering from just that object, and then there's bringing it back, trying to sustain it, and then there's scattering, and bringing it back, sustaining, etc. like that.
나한테와 다가랑가 셈 되네 셈 셴라 마도와진 그러다 구디 체중다 근데 그 삼로 그렇게 마다와자 구 나와 다가랑가 오다 셈 샤샤 되는 도다 와데다 셈 되는 제지도 좋아서 셈 좋아서 같이 다 균도 좋아는 담보 때에 셈 되니 셴도 미와 미과들 균도 좋아다 미과들 균도 좋다 가르리 내투답지 되다 아니 가서 레데 좋아 가서 다 쟁에게 얘한테 치료도 이야나 대시버잖아 라야 미바데니로 줘봐 오죠.
So at this point then that you are simply focused on the appearance of the object in the mind. There's no mental discussion about it. You're not looking at the breath anymore. You're not involved in any other object. You're just concentrating on that appearance of the body of the Buddha, in this case, in your mind. And again, not worried about the size of it, any other characteristics about it. And then the second of the stages, mental stages, in the development of meditative serenity is called continuous placement. And it's self-explanatory in that you are momentarily not distracted from the chosen object of your focus, and so you can gain some sense of continuity of placement on the object. And the third of the stages is called patched placement. And so here it's characterized by yes, you're still forgetting forgetting the object and being therefore distracted externally from that object. Then you come to notice, you become aware of this, and once again you bring your mind to place on the object.
ngama yawa shene bongwa ta sem de sa namye bane mi ba de ni la sa bebe choba wocha bebe choba wocha.
And so the next stage is close placement. So here now you have overcome that which you have been previously distracted by, and so you're now really having abandoned distraction. You're making more effort to maintain placement or focus on the object.
Dua cheba ne tenge zika yubya ne tenge zika kawa cheba wa. Da shiwa cheba ne namye la gyöndu tenne sa. Namye la gyöndu tenne tenge zika miga wa shiwa cheba wa sa. Namba shiwa cheba ne chaksem ta yimi dewa ta mugwa ta nila soba chunga nam nyewa shiwa cheba wa cha.
The fifth of the stages is known as taming, and this is comes about through one's reflection on the good qualities of meditative concentration, and then an increasing delight in engaging in meditative concentration. And number 6 stage is known as pacification, and here one really regards very, very clearly the any distraction as faulty. And so here this increases one's desire or liking for meditative concentration, and so there's a certain pacification of one's attention. And the 7th of these stages is known as complete pacification, and so here the attitudes of attachment, melancholy, lethargy, sleep, etc., they are now completely pacified. They are no longer issues for your concentration. So then what you are aware of here in this description of the different stages is the increasing capacity of one's mind, and particularly of one's attentive prowess. Then one reaches stage 8, which is called one-pointed attention, and so here it's characterized as the effort that is made in order to achieve effortless placement. And number 9, the final, is called balanced placement, and so this then is a state of mental balance or equipoise, characterized by an equanimity. And so these labels attached to the 9 different stages of mental development like this come from the first book of what are known as the Stages of Meditation by Kamala Shila, and the 4 natures or attentions and 5 stages also have reference in the text known as the Ornament for the Sutras. So you can see the process here of this mind training in a way that at the beginning, because there isn't any habituation to directing the mind in this, to disciplining the mind in this way, that from the outset there are going to be many problems, many difficulties. But with more and more and more familiarity, and this is the key issue here, of habituation and familiarity, with more and more and more familiarity, the mind itself gains more capacity, more power, and more most especially more stability, and this then stability serves to gain the meditative serenity that you're aiming for, but it also simultaneously it reduces the interferences and obstacles to the stability and the serenity that you're aiming for. So we leave it there for today.
가서 당연히 소반이 과도스 차대요. 거기에 동리 과리 하는 양도 상당히 유전에 좀 요즘에 유전의 주어이나 라고 듣고 그래. 주사요 말해서 요즘에 매발 때 아니 각자 각자들 삼도 어때 로컬 감성 샤도가 각자 각자 다들 되게 공고에 좀 이게 되 가봐 char스나 동리도 싫어 계시도 봐. 단단해 저 소소 동리 과도 차대요. 남의 샤마샤바지.这些家也上么就对于呢落差吧，각자 가sam들落차와지 안 딜러 공지 때네 안 디가 셋도 샤도가 제치
And so again I want to emphasize how that it's very good to try to develop some proficiency in meditation as is described here. Of course, to develop meditative serenity as explained here requires, of course, time and many preconditions, and it's very hard to get all those circumstances together, all your ducks in a row, so to speak. But it doesn't stop us from engaging in the breathing meditation that I described earlier, using that whenever it's necessary as a continuous basis, but also the settling of the mind, bringing discipline to the mind. And I would emphasize too that in that same context, to use every opportunity to use that mind to focus on emptiness, and to familiarize yourself more and more and more about the fact that phenomena lack any objective existence, that they lack any inherent existence, that they are merely imputed by thought. And this the meditation that brings you to the point of the mere negation of the object of negation. That's really important, because after all, the ultimate objective of cultivating meditative serenity is to thereafter put it into the service of special insight in meditating on emptiness. So it's very important to gain a sense of familiarity about emptiness and the logic of bringing one to that point of the mere negation of the object of negation, and then again placing one's mind just at that point. Again, that's where you can use whatever level of meditative concentration and placement that you have developed just on that. That's quite important.
그래서 먼저 세네 고메지 칸봉말이 기회체도 말아. 먼저 세네 고메지 가서는 동이도 배땡에서 기회체도 세네 삼아당겨 봐.
And so of course, we're not developing meditative serenity in order to gain higher realms in cyclic existence. We are developing it in order to really meditate on seeing emptiness directly.
어디죠? 가서 카트 잡거든. 녀모를 갑자기 잡고다 녀모가 잡아 다지 머리 붙여버리면서 뒤에 뭐 돈이도 배셔라서 거기에 돈이를 아니 소소 가봐 좋아이네. 그냥 가봐 좋아서 수다 투고이네. 수다 투고이 바이나다. 아니 근데 저 론체 바이나. 되게 그가 삼로당 그거는 낭데도 유대는 두 번 낭고 열때 what 유대는 두 번 낭시 나왔나시 what 매되겠지. 매되겠지. what 딜로를 검지 야는 양도 차지. 아니 이 what 안데네 거기 제바제네 각자 각삼 되갈 셈도 각자 각삼 되갈 셈도 샤제네 어디를 제대로 딱 가져 저 뭐유고 내주 통해 당 뭐유고 내주 뭐도觉得修偏色吧
Yes, and so to understand that the objective of developing meditative serenity is to put it into the service of gaining direct realization of emptiness, because to oppose the mental afflictions, to get at the root of mental afflictions, we have to deal with this self-grasping true existence of a self-entity, etc. And it's the developing of the wisdom of emptiness that does that. With that focused concentration of meditative serenity combined with special insight. And so this is something that we can use to whatever capacity we have, whenever, to be able to be aware of that, of whatever objects we are making use of, wherever we find ourselves, whoever we are engaged in, to understand that these things appear to us, but they do not exist in the way that they appear. And to really, through analysis, to run through that to get to the point of the mere negation of the object of negation, and to kind of settle one's mind, place one's mind on that, and to kind of familiarize that more and more and more, is to familiarize ourselves with that which is reality, the nature of reality itself, which is of course always helpful to us in any situation.
그래서 동반이가 돼 야내야서 동니가 돼 고아를 차 때려 삼로 다운도 아니 거에 자와 당지 머리부터 구조를 되게 봐.
So it said that when we again familiarize ourselves more and more with the meaning of emptiness, when we actually reflect on the meaning of emptiness, it really shakes up the very root of cyclic existence.
어디다 그것도 이나 삼로 다운도 있어. 먼저 롱제 건가 최되게 건가
And so that's something that we can employ all the time, that sort of reflection, that sort of thinking, because everything and anything that we make use of lacks any objective existence. Let's leave it there. Lam Rim
Dedication.
Lam Rim Dedication Prayer, page 29. From my two collections, vast the space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eyes blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving passion for all lives mandatory. May I find the best of complete greater parts of the teachings. May I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear darkness from the minds of all beings, with the points of the path as I discern them. May I hold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by even this greater path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who live in adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent lives never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. 为神康的本来的我马路中门的天瑞星光天经的所以下辈子的八度天国去没最为的真正瑞星最美感的王国长培养安全的倍速的松卡巴路上转给下拉索瓦的你没最为的真瑞星最美感的王国长培养安全的倍速的松卡巴路上转给下拉索瓦的你没最为的真瑞星最美感的王国长培养安全肯被速的松卡巴路上转给下拉索瓦的 You are of
I will keep the striving great treasure of compassion, not in true existence, and the Joshua master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani to destroy all the demons without exception. Sankalpa Angel, the sage of land, the sage, blessings Gatha at your feet, I make requests.